Welcome to Business Influencers with TALRadio. Hope everyone is having a great week. If you are new to our show, welcome. We promise each and every week to bring great guests that share from the heart, sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, and helping you in everything that you do, not only in your business, but also in your personal life. We like to look at a wide variety of different topics that really affect us both holistically on a life and business perspective. And again, you getting to draw your own conclusion, what was shared and what resonated with you. We got a great show today. We're going to be talking with Ernie Paniccioli about hip hop at the end of the world. And Ernie is a legendary hip hop photographer. He is a best-selling author, an activist, which I'm going to let him talk a little bit more about that, and a lecturer. And without further ado, we welcome Ernie to the show. Ernie, how you doing?
Peace. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the show. I love the fact I've heard so many great things about you when it comes to, not only being a photographer, being in hip hop for all these years, but, also being an activist, a lecturer, and how you really want to make a difference in the world. I'd like to find out a little bit more about your journey, starting with hip hop, where it started and where it's taken you today, in terms of you being an activist and a lecturer and everything that you do.
Wow. Do you have 6-7 hours?
We'll do the condensed version, but then we'll continue another time. Absolutely.
I don't know. I woke up one morning and I was 74 years old and everything else seems like a dream. Biggie Smalls, one of the most famous rappers, mentioned me in one of his songs, and I was at that time the chief photographer for Word Up magazine, and he said it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper Up in the Limousine, and we were at some event and he singled me out and told everybody that he had dedicated that song to me. So I asked him, I said, why didn't you throw my name in? And he cursed at me and said, MF, he said, nobody can pronounce your last name, number one. And number two, what the hell can you rhyme Paniccioli with? It was all a dream. It seems like a dream. For 45 years or so, I've been documenting hip hop. And the reason that I became involved in hip hop, because I'm the least hip hoppy guy in the world. No tattoos, I don't curse every 3 seconds. I don't have my pants sagging, none of that. And if you listen to my music, you'll be shocked. It's mostly John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Gil Scott-Heron. So, you say, how the hell did this guy become part of, inducted into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame? That's uncanny. But the reason, there were 2 reasons, and I want to share this with your audience, that I became involved with hip hop. Because as an activist, I saw hip hop giving a voice to the voiceless. Our people had no voice. The only time you saw us was in handcuffs or looking stupid or saying, yeah, Kimosabi, and go get the horses, Tonto. And, it doesn't say much about our media. It doesn't say much about our awareness that you relegate an entire group of people or groups of people to secondary citizen status via your imagery. So when I became a hip hop photographer, I made a vow that I would show our people as regal, royal, and godlike. And if you look at my images, you'll see that I kept it, not in a phony way, not static, quite the opposite. Usually my pictures are very warm and friendly, but they also show the human and spiritual side of us. And one of the reasons that I became involved with hip hop, besides the fact that I saw it as a revolutionary art form, in that we finally have a voice we can express. But there were indigenous parts to hip hop. In other words, in hip hop, you have an MC, that's the rapper.
Yep.
Well, we have holy men and teachers and storytellers. And then you had, in hip hop, you have the DJ. We have the drum.
Yes.
When someone gets married or you have a baby or you're going to war or you have a good crop, you use the drum. And dance, hip hop has b-boy dance. Well, we got dance. So I saw the similarities. And then they said, well, you didn't have graffiti. We got sand painters and we have people that do incredible paintings. So they're like, oh, and the fifth element of hip hop is the one that enticed me the most. In hip hop, the fifth element is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And all indigenous tribes have the elders and the medicine men, and that's what they teach. That's how we survive, is through a spiritual link with the land, with the animals, with the sky, with the earth, with the universe around us. We don't think we own anything. Natives didn't own land. That's like, we call the land Mother Earth. How can you own your mother?
Exactly.
How can you buy and sell your mother? That was insanity to us. So that's how I became involved with and enamored of hip hop, pure hip hop, not a lot of what, not
well, that's
not
one
not
of
not the odious part of hip hop.
the. So tell us, I mean, a little bit about, like, like some of the things that in your journey, when you got into hip hop, you saw a lot of the values of, who you are and how that related to hip hop, that you saw that synergy. What were some of the things that really that brought out your strengths, other than being a fantastic photographer?
Uh, I learned by being compelled to do certain things. I learned, for example, I was asked to do gang summits. Gang summits are where you get two brutal gangs together and you try to defuse, disarm, and de-escalate the tension between them. And I learned,
Mediator, yeah.
yeah, I learned to be a speaker, and I learned to not talk to people, but talk with people and listen to people. And the first time we did it in Harlem at a theater, and we had security there who took the guns and knives from the gang members. And when I went out to the lobby, there was a whole stack of guns and knives. Holy smokes. And then when we had them in the room, we had one gang here, one gang here, one gang here. They all sat separate and they were staring at each other, and we didn't know exactly how it would turn out. The second year we did it, we had about 1/5 of the weaponry. And we also tried something that was a little bit insane. We had the people just sit wherever they wanted. And when you're sitting with someone, it's different than you're looking over at them from the other side of the room. So we got them to agree to listen to one another. And we allowed them, we had different, I remember one little skinny kid from California. He was from a gang in the West Coast. He was from LA or Compton. And he got up and he said, you people in this room don't know how lucky you are. You can get up in the morning and put on anything you want, any kind of clothes you want. Where I'm from, you can't wear red and go through a blue neighborhood. Sort of like the Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, literally.
That's another gang that uses colors. He said, you can't go into certain neighborhoods and wear red without getting killed. And you can't go into certain neighborhoods and wear blue without getting killed. And he broke it all down. He said, here, you put on any color you want and nobody bothers you. Of course, that was some 20 years ago. And now you have to be careful what neighborhoods you go through in Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, all the different boroughs. You have to be careful what colors you wear. So you have to wear either neutral colors or, non-offensive colors like black or gray or green. So you learn from these interactions. And what I learned was that I have a voice, and how to use that voice, and how to channel that voice, and how to channel that energy and defuse situations without using, the things that we're taught, the martial arts, all of that. And so that's a lesson I've learned.
Wow. That's great. That's fantastic. And you've done so many things. Like being a photographer. You're also you've written. This prompted you to be an author. You're a best-selling author. You've lectured around the world, and you're an activist. And talk about that from that perspective in terms of helping people and creating awareness of some of the things that are so important in our world that we often take for granted. Anything you'd like to share on that?
Yeah, as an author, a lecturer, an artist, if you're successful, you start making a lot of money, and you have the ability to acquire physical things, or stuff. And growing up really poor, really poor, I didn't have stuff, and I found out I didn't need stuff. I don't need $400 sneakers. We used to wear Converse that were like $5, and they'd last a whole year until your feet were too big. So when you have this access to stuff, you say, what's really valuable, what's really important. And coming from a martial arts Zen background, you realize that all of the things that matter are internal, and how you can influence the world around you external. And you learn how to bring people together. You learn to listen. You learn to embrace people. You learn to embrace cultures, and you become very, very, very wealthy, very rich, because your spirit acquires that magic, that heart, that love. And the physical things, that's cool. I'm not anti-capitalist. I'm not going to go into a socialist rant, but you learn that the essential things. Anton de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince, he wrote that the things that are essential to the heart are invisible to the eye.
It's very good. Yeah. So what would be some of the things, like, just based on your experience, being in hip hop, being an activist, lecturing around the world, what are some of the things that you could see that, what we have to, like, overall as people, what can we learn? Like, what are some of the things, like those values that are true to you, that what we could, that we can help other people to see that themselves, and how we can come together in a better way?
I think a lot of people don't notice, and I'm going to share a secret with you. I did a book on punk called Punk Life. And one day I was walking near CBGB's in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw this girl with pink hair. And I went up to her, and because I'm a big guy, she was a little bit standing back, and I said, may I ask you some questions? May I speak with you? She said, yeah. And I asked her why she had her hair like that. And she started talking to me, and we walked, and we went to meet some of her friends, and I asked could I photograph them, and I began to listen and photograph. So even though punk seems like an external thing about clothes, there was other things going on. And my point is that there are multiple cultures in America. You go to certain places in the world and they are culturally one-dimensional. In the United States, you have so much. So I documented punk, I documented hip hop, I documented the b-boys and the DJs and the rappers. And my first initial take into that was documenting these incredible, masterful, untrained graffiti artists. And they create murals, and they never went to school. They didn't learn composition and, all the color separations. They just had this desire to be seen and to create. So I think being a photographer taught me to watch, to listen, to absorb, and most important, especially now, to appreciate all these art forms and all this creativity and all this magic. Yeah, it's cool to make money, but a lot of times when you make money, and I've worked with millionaires and multimillionaires, and to them, they spend their whole day like this, look. And the only thing that they live for is more.
Yeah.
And then, I said, wait, how much more do you want? How much more do you need? And they actually would come visit me or call me to their homes just to talk to them, because I get them down off that high.
Yeah.
I detox them and make them understand, yeah, you can make money and you can have things, but when you own things, sometimes those things own you, which goes back to Zen Buddhism.
That's true. That's a great point. It's so true. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that. I remember, Jim Carrey says, I wish everyone can experience becoming, having fame and fortune, and then realizing that's not what it's about. There's more to life. It's not about the material things. So I love that point that you made.
I spent time talking with two people who were killed recently by fentanyl, Michael Jackson and Prince. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to be with both of them at once. And Michael was the most gentle, caring, simple person I think I ever met. And he had an aura about him that he did not know how to control. He'd go on stage and it'd go like this, and 300 people would start screaming, 20 people would faint, and he didn't know how to harness that power or where it came from. And we talked about that. And Prince was this very quiet little guy, and talking to him, I found myself listening to him for hours. His perspective on everything was totally Zen-like and very, 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 very different. And I'm sorry that they never gave him a radio show or a TV show or a podcast or something where he could detox us from a lot of the addictions that we have to stuff. And he also, I remember in one conversation, we spoke for about an hour on time. Just time. He said, everyone has a certain amount of time. We all have the same amount of time in a day, and he went like this, symbolizing the hours. And we all have a certain amount of time. We all have the same amount of time. And we don't all have the same amount of time on the earth. And one of the things you have to do is learn how to manage your time.
Yeah.
And he would get up early in the morning and start making music. And, he was obsessed with time. And time is something that in the West, we don't value. Even how, people say, oh, I know people that are working 5 jobs in one job, meaning they're working one job, but they could have easily been working 5 because of their intensity. And they never learned the one Zen quality, the most important, detachment. Even in martial arts, I was blessed to have a sensei who taught me detachment, because a lot of these guys come and, they'd be ferocious, and they were easily defeated because they were obsessed with. And then you get another guy come in, he'd be like, and you knew this guy, you're like, you just go up to him and you say peace, because he was just totally, and you have to learn as an artist, as a person who has to deal with the business, as a person who has to deal with family, as a person who has to deal with racism, activism, creativity. You have to learn one major thing, and that's detachment.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
If you're involved and it owns you, you're not free. Detachment means that you're not owned by anything and you don't own anything. You're here temporarily, so everything you have is rented.
It is. It's true. I've learned 22 years ago that I was so attached to expectations, to outcomes, certain things that I thought would bring me happiness, because all of that was outside of me. And when I learned how to really bring everything into the moment, from past and future, like that fixed mindset into a growth mindset, when I could trust the process of controlling what I can, letting go of what I can't, and just focusing on what I could, maximize in that moment, not, detaching from the outcome, everything changed. And I knew that I could choose to be happy. If I, no matter what was happening, beyond my control, I could say, what can I find grateful or find something to be happy about, and choose that, and to be that today. So I'm a firm believer that through discipline and how we think, we can be that, to become that, do it, and have more sustainable results over time.
If you spend a day with me and we go to various hip hop events or whatever, you'll be shocked at what people do with me. I walk in with 2 or 3 legends and everybody will say hi and shake their hand. No one shakes my hand. People hug me. And that tells me, I think finally in my 70s, I think people, I'm starting to learn what this is all about, because I walk in a room and people, they hug me. And that's the greatest honor, is being hugged.
Oh, absolutely. It just tells you your aura, your energy, and your presence, that you care, and you're the example for others to help themselves.
Well, I remember one of the last lectures I did before COVID set in. I was in Canada, and I was in a room full of people of different ethnic backgrounds, ages, so on and so forth. And I threw something out at the beginning and then I left it. I said, we're not going to go there until the end. And I said, how many of you in this room have never been kissed? So immediately everybody, because kissing, has a sexual connotation, has emotional I said, okay, but just put that in the back of your mind for now. And we went on.
Yeah.
And of course, in the Q&A, someone said, why'd you talk about kissing? And Chris, it goes back to exactly what you said. Many times, couples that have everything going for them don't last. And you wonder why. And it's not because of the sex or the money or, the love, the affection. It's because they don't kiss.
Yeah.
They kiss, but it's, they're thinking about the laundry. They're thinking about the phone call. Kissing is a Zen action manifested where everything stops.
Exactly.
And if you connect on a physical and visceral level with your partner, the whole world could get sucked into the sun and melt, and you wouldn't care. But it requires the same energy of kissing, of creating, of doing a photo, of doing an essay, of doing a lecture. Is that word that you use is presence, to be here now. And one of the things that I ask when I speak is, again, I put something out at the beginning and ask people to think about it. Where's the hardest place in the universe to go to? Or the hardest place in the universe to be? And of course, in the Q&A, people say, where is the hardest place? And I said, here. They said, you mean in this college or this room? No, here, now, right this minute.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And that's what Zen teaches you. It teaches you. That's why the Zen students, you know, do the breathing and all, you know. I saw a film of some Tibetan monks. And if I had time, I'd talk about me and the Tibetans, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, we can do that for another show. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I want to have you back on again. Believe me.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw a film that was taken of some Buddhist monks in Tibet. And they had on robes and they went out into the snow. And, you know, it's freezing. They had 3 feet of snow. And they sat there and they took off their robes and they just had on a little loincloth. And they started meditating. And they sat there. And as they sat there, the snow and ice around them melted. And the lesson that I got from that is to be here now, to be here at this moment.
Absolutely.
If you're talking to someone, look them in the eye and talk to them. Forget your laundry, forget where you parked, forget your, you know, whatever. Forget that you're hungry. Look at that. You may never meet that person again, and you don't know what that person has to share to teach you. And you don't know where you've met that person in another life. You don't know where you're going to see them again. You don't know the influence you're going to have on them or the influence. Give them that time. Look at them. Look them in the eye and talk to them and absorb what they have.
Absolutely.
And that sense of now is it's the hardest place in the world to be now. Instead of me thinking about the pancakes.
Oh yeah. Well,
or the laundry, or you know, helping your kid with the homework, or you know, this, you know, book negotiation. No.
Now.
Be here now.
Ernie, I love this guy. I could spend the next hour talking to you about, because I love this, and we got to do another show. Definitely. Again, we're near the end of the show. We have to end the show, but I want to thank you personally for taking the time to be here. Your words of wisdom are so enlightening, and I can't wait for people to hear this show that, you know, that didn't catch it live, that will be listening to it later. And again, we will definitely make sure to have you back on again, and want to again thank you for being here. Real quick, if you could just let people know where they can reach you if they have any questions, like a email address, a website, whatever you feel, and we're going to end the show from there.
Yeah, you could call this session Pancakes and Kisses. Brother Ernie at gmail.com, BrotherErnie@gmail.com. And I thank you, Chris, for your time. I thank you for your good energy. Absolutely. And I thank you for making me smile.
Absolutely. Ernie, you are a blessing to this world, and I am so grateful that we got connected through Jerry and you're being on the show. I want to thank you, and we're going to be talking a lot here, and I got some things that we can do, some other things we can talk about. Thank you so much. And listeners, we thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Till next time, we'll have another great guest sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help you get to the next level in your life and business. Till then, have a great day.